This moment in time is that of the bifurcation. We've seen it in the history of the past 2+ years and its effects on our families and friends, our businesses, our culture. There's a bifurcation too in our perceptions and understanding versus our understanding, in deceit versus truth, in not seeing and in seeing. Creator of all that is, we also see the bifurcation in our governing bodies. At last, the de facto lie versus the de jure of the people. Two very different jurisdictions, to say the least. The intentions, the motivations, the devoid of spirit versus the acknowledgement, but more the identification with the spirit that we know ourselves, of which we recognize ourselves to be a significant part. Thank you for our eyes to see the truth. The third eye now has a job that previously had lied fallow by the hand of those who wish to shut off our source energy. Now we stand. We stand tall. We stand ready. We claim our divine sovereign selves with the full force of our beloved Creator. Let it be so. And so it is.
Thank you, Charlie. My name's Ron Vroman. I'm the old white man talking head for the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. It's back to words again. The Brits knew and know and have known they were subjects. They thought it was a democratic monarchy. They were wrong. And this Brits thing is very wide and deep, and it involves all the Five Eyes countries and us in a big time way. The Canadians, the Aussies, the Kiwis, and others thought the same thing, and they were wrong also. And so was the Netherlands. And it has something to do with monarchies and democracies. And it seems like Denmark and Sweden and Norway are all of them or some of them still have living monarchs. I am a descendant of two men, a father and a son, that both fought for New York in the Revolution. I feel like I have skin in the game, and I act accordingly. Cognitive dissonance was the disease that I had until 2014. It is easy to comprehend what the normal persons are going through. Most of my family refuses to deal with this reality. They refuse to see it. I was that way until I was 75. We had a functioning constitutional Republican form of government on the several states from 1819 to 1860. When South Carolina left the Union in 1860, prior to Lincoln's inaugural address, the Confederation and Perpetual Union of the United States of America broke. Amendment 13, TONA, Titles of Nobility, was ignored, written over, and the fraud continued with the unlawful United States Inc. in some form since that time, except on Oregon. www.orsja.org. We have been in a benevolent form of martial law since March 1861 and codified by Executive Order 100, the Lieber Code. The Lieber Code was still in effect in 2015 when the Army updated their martial law. Martial law is nullified by the existence of a civilian court of record on the land when ex parte Milligan is implemented. You may have noticed the benevolent has turned to malevolent, but still martial law. except on Oregon. We read the information available on the internet and we follow the steps. It was time consuming to figure out this fraud, one step at a time, and to do the work. And it took us 4 years. With what we have done with our paperwork, any group of 5 people can follow suit in 21 days. A statewide Jural assembly from the First Amendment, a civilian court of record, grand jury and trial jury pool, a grand jury, an Article 3 Amendment 7 court, and a Second Amendment well regulated militia can lawfully be implemented in 21 days. I don't think I read an Article 3 Amendment 7 court. That's correct. And then the militia, 21 days. From the time you start, you get it, you're looking at it. Most of you have already made the decision. You just haven't sign your name a few times, thumbprint a few documents, and wait 21 days. Most of you have already done the work. You already know what it is. Your mindset is already done. You know the fraud. What's left? Take action. Sign your name a few times, red thumbprint a few times, dealing with 5 to a couple of hundred people that think very similar to the way you do and want to return to a constitutional Republican form of government? How hard is that? We did it. And hell, we're Oregonians. We allegedly elected Kate Brown. Allegedly. It's hard to tell. It really is difficult to determine who is in control of what and when they were. Like I was reading, Ron DeSantis doesn't want to do anything with the election system in Florida. And what I read, it was because it elected him. So maybe they had control of the machines from the start, and he knew he was going to get elected because the GOP owned the machines in Florida. What I know less than the old man who knew nothing and he's dead. Rest in peace, Arnie. So, our Oregon Assembly has been challenged. We have one of ours in jail, and it's not for a simple little infraction, it's major. And we're going to have to step up. We might not even want to step up on this one. I know I sure don't want to. But what are you going to do? You either stand by your principles or you don't. I'm just the clerk of the court, and there's 11 other deputy clerks of the court that are just the same as me. So any one of them could do it and can do it, would do it, and we have to stand up. Doesn't make any difference if the fellow that we're standing up for did right or did wrong. That's not the case. The case is de jure or de facto. This man is a member of our de jure government. That's who he is. We have to deal with that. Like, we're just the clerks of the court. We're just doing all the clerical functionary work that has to be done. We are not the jury. We are not the prosecutor. we're doing the work of the court. And the work of the court is to get de jure men and women out of the de facto jurisdiction of the color of law incorporated subdivision of the United States, Inc., that they laughingly call the state of Oregon, all caps state of Oregon. So we're going to have to write a claim of cognizance for one of our own and inform their court that the man you're holding in custody is not in your jurisdiction. And if there was wrong done, then it has to be decided in an Article 3, Amendment 7 court, constitutionally. And that's what we'll do. Now, again, constitutionally, we have to get some things straight. Register to vote and vote. If you're a U.S. citizen, so much the better. You don't have to expatriate. If you're awake and you know what's going on and you've already changed to state national or American national or anything other than U.S. citizen and your paperwork's in order, you can expatriate from the de jure Oregon or the de jure wherever and go down and register to vote. It's your choice. You're the sovereign. Their rules govern them, not you. But their rules say to vote in their election, you have to be their citizen. And we can step in and out of that as fast as, skipping rope. That's not a problem. The problem is paper ballots, polling places, and hand count of paper ballots, with several people watching every ballot counted so that those on both sides of the election or the many sides of the election are sure the count's correct. No machines. Now we're going to be going to Salem soon on that. We have to talk to them face to face. If they won't face it, we'll leave a document and we'll file a document into the public domain. Some of you people need to stand up a little bit stronger. We need more help in the outlying counties. Counties that are not so big and so corrupted that you might still be able to speak to the sheriff, although he's a person, and show him how he could be one of the people. Bobby and I are going to do a broadcast on that soon, real soon. We have to start doing everything that we can possibly do in this upcoming election. We have to work with the Secretary of State. We have to work with all of the county election boards, and they're all going to become illegal and illegitimate. I'll bet money on it, September 11th. We're going to have an upcoming boy, the word just goes away. Word I use every day and it's gone. Grand jury. And the grand jury is going to be hearing about licensing and things like that. And that's all going to come into play on the election. And it's all back to words again. We have to do our very best to commit ourselves to getting this job done. All of us. Somehow, the enthusiasm for returning Oregon to a constitutional Republican form of government this year, 2022, somehow that's a motto that doesn't seem to resonate as loud with people as it should. It's not snappy or catchy. It's just the plain old hard, solid work. No glory, just work. Stay out of trouble best you can. So, when I was reading this, I was thinking of a couple of things. Canadians, Aussies, Kiwis, Brits, Northern Ireland, the Bahamas, Trinidad and Tobago, they're probably one of them. And according to the Treaty of Paris, the United States is all under the sway of the King of England. The Oregon State Bar is. We're struggling to get accreditation in their de facto system that's holding one of us. They don't want to recognize us so that they have to deal with us because they have one of us, flesh and blood, a man in their jail, and their jail can only hold fiction, the all cap version of your name. But we're dealing with that, and they're dealing with that. And the man that's caught in jail is kind of the man in the middle of this whole thing. Anyhow, you folks have to contact us. We have to have a coordinated effort. And several of you have. And thank you very much. And thank you for the donations too. But what we're dealing with has to be dealt with by each one of us. Those that are in a certain county. Let's take Coos County for an example. The district attorney of Coos County blocked all messages from me in the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly because he doesn't like what I say to him. Yeah. So he blocks me, but that's only 1 out of 36. But there's several more that don't like what we have to say, don't want to hear it, but they have to, and they have to hear it from us. We're going to have some kind of a document, some kind of a statement read in the sheriff's building. In Washington County, they got a huge building with the huge giant atrium, I guess you'd call it. I read a petition for grievance to Pat Garrett and his years ago. We might have to do that again. It has to be on the public record in each and every place. We have to tell them. You can't sneak up on them. They have to know you're coming. They have to know your name, and they have to know what you're doing. We can use the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly, and we can use our civilian court of record and all of the clerks of the court, but you can't not use your name. You have to be the one that stands up for you. We're going to have several stand up to every sheriff and read them the riot act. They have to have a proper oath, and they have to have the proper oath before the next election. They have to swear an oath to a proper constitution, a lawful one, not one in color of law. I have something I'd like to talk about. Last week, I contacted, I don't know, 7 or 11 assemblies around the nation: Kentucky, Missouri, Washington, Michigan, Arizona, Texas, so that we can start coordinating now all of the several states that were one of the 32 states, so we can have a Congress assembled. We have to do that. First, we have to do Oregon. That's why I was talking to you folks about the sheriffs and contacting them. When we have the grand jury meeting soon, I'm pretty sure everybody will see it like we're presenting it. These infringements on your right to contract with another man or a woman, they should not be infringed by legislature, and they are. They want to give you their version of who can contract. These people that have our license can be attorneys. And these people that have our license can be doctors. And these can be plumbers, and these can be electricians. And they all have to have our license. And we're going to have a school board that will control what's taught, regardless of what the people think. They're in control. They're elected unlawfully, and they don't have a proper oath. They have to leave. We will govern ourselves. We don't need government trying to govern sovereigns. Now, that doesn't mean we just throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's really smart to stop at a red light and stop at a stop sign. That part's smart. That's obeying the law, but it's only a natural law of self preservation. You see the 8-sided red sign, you stop, because if you don't, you could get hit in the intersection. That's knowledge. That's not a discretionary ticket by some cop sitting beside the road. That's, did you destroy property and did you hurt somebody? If not, then you were a law abiding citizen that stopped, or you were a scofflaw and went through it. But neither one of those is anything to do with cops, sheriffs, none of them. Just like it's not their authority to tell us who can or cannot be a doctor. I agree there should be associations or societies or assemblies of doctors that do a self accreditation and acknowledge those that have the similar skills and morals that they do and assemble together. That's good business for the people using the service and for those with the service. But that has nothing to do with the state of Oregon government or the state of Oregon Board of Physicians or dentists or chiropractors or electricians or plumbers. That has to do with people contracting with other people, and professional associations, societies, or assemblies established by the de jure for the de jure. We have to get rid of this de facto government. All of it. There isn't any good parts to keep. You cannot pick up the turd by the clean end. Doesn't exist. The next thing we have to do is find somebody to buddy up with you, preferably 2 or 3, so that maybe once a week your group of 3 or 4 or 5, not too big, 4 is a magic number, go and do an hour's work for the assembly. Take an hour, all 4 of you together, think out your plan, your agenda, and where you're going to go and who you're going to talk to. You got county commissioners that may or may not be counties that are covered by the UN treaty with the United States Inc., and they're a subdivision of the United States Inc., and they take the United States Inc.'s money and they don't represent us. Well, they're a board and a commission and they need to be removed. They break their oath, they have no honor, and they cannot hold a position of trust. We have to do it ourselves, all of us, one at a time. We have to make that decision. And I would really love to see some of you jump in and make it. More than the ones that have. There's no money in it. There's a little expense in it. There's sweat, blood, tears. But the reward is absolutely wonderful. To fulfill your responsibility to yourself, to those that came before, and to those that are going to come after us, that on our shift, on our watch, we didn't fail. We stood up to the task. And we're doing it. orsja.org. We need somebody to write a Newsweek bulletin for us, somebody that'll tap in on what we're doing, what we have done, and what's going on within our Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. And tell that in a 10 or a 15-minute video and a couple of page email piece weekly. Don't break down the doors to get to this now. I know that you're just struggling to be first in line to do that. But it needs to be done. We said, boy, we really need somebody to handle this technology that we have going now. Internet and websites and all the stuff on cell phones. And we put our mind to it and we got William. Thank you, William. We needed somebody to pick up the reins and drive the wagon. And we got Charlie, who's in Hawaii now on holiday. Mahalo.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying. Then he jumps out of the car. And he's got both his hands up. And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, just shoot me then. This is what you want, just shoot me. And they did. They shot him dead. With his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, they shot him 3 more times.